Hi, welcome back to Standing Strong for Marriages, a YouTube channel dedicated to helping people walk through marriage separation or divorce using Christian principles. Marhaba. Hello, you guys. How's everything going? I hope you're doing well. I'm doing a little bit of traveling today, so I thought I would shoot here by the window. I'm in Jordan, so if you've never seen the Jordanian countryside, I'll let you kind of check it out. It's just the sun's going down. It's kind of late evening, but very dry, a bit dusty. Flat, some hills off in the background, but it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool, P. I hope you all are doing well, honestly and truly. Hey, I wanted to do a quick video because, well, one, I always like to bring some encouragements, and one thing that I heard this week was so encouraging. It was about this family, a mother, father, and their oldest child, who had this, each of them individually, some pretty interesting experiences, felt that God spoke to them through some dreams, and through some events on down the road, they came to a new experience, to know God in a new way, and it really changed, I think, the course of their lives as individuals and the trajectory of their family. The kind of tough side about it was this all happened in a country that wasn't really open for people having a variety of beliefs, and one thing that happened was this. I think this family decided that the best thing that they should do would be, to transition, move to a different country, and the mother and the children were able to do that, but the father ended up getting held up in prison, apparently, from what I heard, for his beliefs, and that's tough. The reason I bring it up is because our beliefs are so central to how we go, the way we walk forward, the things that we say yes to and the things we say no to. And for this family, it's very difficult. I'm sure they didn't want this struggle. They didn't want to be separated. They didn't want to have all these difficulties. And of course, we can pray for this guy. This is, I think, the right thing to do, but also what God calls us to do in the Scriptures. Additionally, this may really kind of hit home for us as well. Could be that we're very convinced about what the right thing to do in our situation is, as far as waiting and praying for our spouse, trusting God to speak His word to our spouse in His timing, and to continue to work in our lives so that we can be more equipped, better prepared for the marriage that He put together for us in the beginning. Or it could be that you've looked at a lot of different perspectives, read some different articles, many of them from different perspectives on, are people allowed to divorce, are people allowed to remarry, what is all this stuff with remarriage and adultery from the Christian perspective, and you may feel kind of lost, you may feel kind of confused. I think that's very, very reasonable. And so it may be that, even though you're not sure what you're going to do, it's still tough, no matter which one of those two camps you're in, whether you know exactly and it's just going to be hard, it's just going to be something that you're going to have to do that's difficult, or if you have kind of more of that uncertainty and you feel lost and you're not sure what your direction is, that's a different kind of challenge, but equally difficult. I just want to say those things are real. And I also want to say on this channel that I think one great thing, I don't think it's right to ever say that if we pray, if we trust in God, that everything is going to work out just as we hoped. I don't think that's the right thing to do. I don't think that's fair. I've thought about, like I said last time, I did a short video and mentioned Watchman Nee, who was a man, a Christian believer, who was living in persecuted China and spent 20 years in prison. Was told that he was going to get out, and actually that decision was reversed. He spent his last day on earth in prison after being there 20 years. Christian man, So that can be super hard to hear, but I don't want to give people false hope. What I can say is that no matter what happens in my situation with my wife, or what happens in your situation with your spouse, we're going to walk forward with God each and every day. And one cool thing that we can do is we can think about how we're developing our relationship with Him. Are we listening to Him? Are we following His leadership? Are we respecting what He says is best for us? Are we trusting Him? Are we growing in faith? Are we learning what it's like to live, by the Spirit and not just according to human logic or the emotions or the desires of the flesh, but to kind of figure out more about what does this mean to live as far as children in the kingdom. I think that's something really cool and something that maybe we don't mention that often, but is I mean, huge, huge, in this whole thing. I'm going to tell you about two things that kind of got me down a little bit. One, like I said, I did some videos on. The first one was David Poston, who said that people can get divorced under certain circumstances for fornication or adultery, but that they're not allowed to remarry, unless, of course, their spouse were to die. The other view was it was very similar by Leslie McFall. The divorce was not allowed, and neither was remarriage. And I try to honestly really look at those things, to think about them, and as I was doing that and continue to do that, it's very difficult. It's difficult, um, more on an emotional level, because I do have those desires, as many as you do, to have a family that works, have a good marriage, be going through life with someone who you trust, or you can depend on, who loves you and is good to you, who's committed to you, etc., etc. So, when I heard some of those views, I said, man, these are some really tough views. And a little bit begrudgingly, I kind of got to the point where I started thinking and praying, and then that verse came to mind where Jesus was in the garden. He knew that he had like a massive amount of suffering ahead of him, that he was going to have to bear the cross. And he didn't want to do that. He was praying honestly, like, you know, to God, was there any way that this cup can pass from me? Is there any way that the thing that was going to be set before him, did he have any other options? Was there something else that he could do? And ultimately, he came to that part, which was, he's so mature, in his faith, and I'm like, I'm being tested, I'm struggling. I'm asking myself, how much faith do I have, and do I really believe in God to this level? How much love do I have for my wife, and am I willing to, to bear this unknown cost? It's a big question. It's a really big question. So if that wasn't enough, also, I heard some stories about how hard it is for people that grow up in like alcoholic homes, or who a spouse had gone through, one of the two in the marriage had gone through some kind of like domestic violence, or sexual assault or molestation. How just through the teenage years, the 20s, the 30s, that just seems to just hamstring them so badly. And when these people get into marriages, they just really struggle. Often there's all kinds of, kind of those past experiences manifest them in ways in the present that are not helpful, and it really hurts the marriage. It makes things difficult. And sometimes I hear those stories. I say, God, is there any hope for couples like this? Is there any hope? I mean, can these people, if they turn to you, will you heal them? Can you even do that? I mean, you can't erase the past. What can you do for these people? And I just, in the end, I want to see more marriages make it. I want to see, more stories of victory. I'm still waiting for you guys to contact me in the messages to share your story. We can do a Zoom video or something, and just hear your testimony about waiting and standing, what you've learned from God, the things that have been hard for you, the ways that you've seen God show up in your situation financially or otherwise, just meet your needs. In the end, my closing remark is that I continue to look around YouTube and blogs and the media and the news a lot. I see a lot of things. I see a lot of stuff on some criticisms on feminism. A lot of people asking, is feminism really good for women? Is it good for women's long-term goals? Is it good for family? Is it, what association does it have with some of the declining marriage rates in the States? I hear a lot of guys kind of from who maybe got burned in marriages, but older guys, teaching younger guys this philosophy of MGTOW, of avoiding women in marriage. And I've listened to them, and I don't think that they have altogether bad ideas in any way. I think they're very thoughtful people. I'm really struggling to see how compatible that is with the Christian approach to life, living a life before God, and with some of the dating and advice that they have on sex. I don't see how that's going to work. I follow the Me Too movement, and from that whole thing, it just seems like that there's a big breakdown between all those together. It just seems like there's a big breakdown between trust among the genders, between the two genders, I should say, not among, but between. And in the end, I look at what Christian marriage has to offer, at least what it claims. And the more and more I listen to what people are saying and sharing, the more I think that people are aware of what Christian marriage advertises. I think they're equally aware of how much it underdelivers and some of the trends, some of the same problems that Christians are having in their own marriages. And I just get really excited because I really do think that people, honestly, if they could get Christian marriage as advertised, that they would be into it. And I don't think that our views are really that far off. A lot of what I see secular guys saying, particularly teaching to younger guys, is um, what they're saying is, look, what do women want? What attracts women to a guy, and what kind of conditions are women looking for in order to, be in a long-term relationship? And I think a lot of guys are saying, well, you want to understand your financial situation, you want to have a view for the future, you want to have vision, you want to have goals, you want to have drive, you want to be developing competencies, you want to maintain your physical fitness, in some of these other areas, just being involved socially, having kind of your head on your shoulders. And, I think that's right. I think that's right. And I like how they say those things, and they say it very well. Um, but, they also say something really interesting about how there's a big piece missing as far as the respect part, and how, guys in authority, that our culture is not really so excited about male authority for whatever reason, men being in charge of things. And so perhaps the Christian model is a bit countercultural as things are, but it does really say that guys should, be heads of their family, to live in honorable ways, to live seriously, to be able to live above reproach so that no one can say anything against them, and to really lead women, to have this vision for the future. These guys are always talking about frame and all these things about being able to set up a life that a woman would want to step into and be part of. And I think that looks like that's pretty on point to me as far as what I'm hearing from secular people, men and women, uh, as well as from, I think, what the essence of the Christian scriptures say. Now, is the church really there as far as in practice, and are these things that we really encourage people in? How far has the church drifted off into like feminism or some of these other more secular ideas? How good are we at really living at like a high moral standard, one that is different and more what God calls. I mean, look, Christianity sets really high standards for morals on people, and it's not easy to live by, of course. But the idea is that we're to strive for that, and God's going to help us. The question is, are we pulling it off? Well, I guess that's all up for debate. But what I want to say to all you guys is, thank you so much. Thank you for your faith. Thank you for believing in your spouse. Thank you for any faith that you have, where you're looking and you're seeing the scriptures and you're thinking about them seriously, and you're trying to formulate a plan for what would God have me do. That's amazingly countercultural. I think so many people are just like, okay, done with this relationship, on to the next one. And I really applaud you. I thank you. I think that I really do think that Christ has so much to offer, and his ways of doing things are amazing. I just think we got to kind of get better in line with that. And once we do, I think the proof is going to be in the pudding. People are going to see a bit of what God is up to. I think it's going to be very attractive for them, and I think it's going to save people from a lot of pain, a lot of divorce courts, a lot of broken families. And I would just think that so many people are really dying for what Christianity is essentially offering. And I just think if we can all, those of us who are of the household of faith, get more on board with that, that we can really say, listen, uh, check this out, look at this, consider this. I think it's a great option for you, my friend, my coworker, my person that I know who's trying to sort through relationships. So thanks for what you're doing. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.